Everyone thinks 11 is the most powerful in Stranger Things, but Season 5 just showed us something that changes everything. By the end of this video, you'll understand why Will's connection to the hive mind might actually make him more dangerous than 11, and trust me, the reasons are going to surprise you. Let's start with what actually happened to Will in 1983. Okay, so Season 5 finally showed us what went down during those 7 days Will was stuck in the Upside Down, and it's way worse than we thought. Episode 1 opens with a flashback to November 12th, 1983. That's 6 days after Will disappeared. We see him hiding in the library, holding a rifle, just trying not to die. Then Vecna shows up. And Vecna doesn't just grab him or kill him. He does something that explains literally everything. He connects this gross tentacle thing directly into Will's mouth and starts pumping Mind Flayer particles into him, like he's physically changing Will's body, changing his blood, making him part of the hive mind permanently. This is the same thing that happened to Henry Creel when he was a kid. In the stage play The First Shadow, we find out that young Henry got transported to Dimension X, and the Mind Flayer entered his body. It flayed him, connected him to the hive mind, mutated his blood. That's how Henry got his psychic powers in the first place. So Vecna just did the exact same thing to Will. Except Vecna skipped the middleman and did it directly. Which means Will's powers come from the same source as Vecna's. Not from lab experiments like 11, from pure upside-down energy. Why Will's powers work? Completely different. Here's where it gets interesting. 11 got her powers because Dr. Brenner was doing those MK Ultra experiments. Her mother was administered experimental psychoactive drugs, often while in a sensory deprivation tank, which is believed to be how 11 developed her powers in the womb. Her abilities are part of her body now. She can use them whenever she wants. Doesn't matter where she is or what's happening, she just has to focus and boom, telekinesis. Will's powers don't work like that at all. The Duffer Brothers explained this in interviews, and it's honestly wild. Ross Duffer said Will doesn't actually have powers inside himself. He's channeling Vecna's powers through the hive mind. It's like puppeteering. Matt Duffer added that Will taps into the hive mind, and then he can manipulate anything connected to it. Monsters, vines, particles, all of it. But he can't open a door because the door isn't part of the hive mind. So Will's abilities are proximity-based. He needs to be close to the Upside Down or creatures connected to it. The closer he is, the stronger the connection. Which sounds like a limitation, right? Like 11 can use her powers anywhere, but Will needs to be near the bad stuff. Except here's the thing. In Season 5, the Upside Down is everywhere. Gates all over Hawkins. The hive mind is closer than it's ever been. Which means Will basically has access to his powers all the time now. And that proximity thing might actually make him more dangerous because he's plugged directly into Vecna's network. That insane Episode 4. The end of Episode 4 is genuinely one of the craziest moments in the entire show. Vecna walks through into the real world at the military base. He grabs Will with his powers, lifts him up, and just starts mocking him. He tells Will that children are weak, that Will was the first one he experimented on, that Will broke so easily, and showed Vecna what was possible. Then Vecna just drops him and walks away. Like he's so confident that the Demogorgons will finish Will off that he doesn't even stick around to watch. Meanwhile, 3 separate Demogorgon attacks are happening across Hawkins. Mike's about to die at the base. Lucas is trapped in the tunnels. Robin's trying to protect kids in a truck. All 3 of them are seconds away from getting killed. And Will is just lying there on the ground, bleeding, broken, listening to Vecna's words about how weak he is. But then something clicks. He remembers this speech Robin gave him earlier. She told him that she spent her whole life looking for answers from other people when the answers were inside her the whole time. She just had to stop being scared of who she was. That hits Will different. He's been scared of his connection to Vecna for years, trying to suppress it, hide from it, pretend it doesn't exist. But what if he stopped being scared? What if he just accepted it and used it? So Will closes his eyes. And here's the beautiful part. Instead of thinking about anger or fear like 11 and Vecna always do, he thinks about love. He remembers the first time Mike asked if they could be friends. He remembers drawing with Joyce, building Castle Byers with Jonathan. All these happy memories flood his mind. Then his eyes go white, just like Vecna's eyes. He raises his arms, and across 3 different locations in Hawkins, 3 Demogorgons freeze in midair. Will can see through all their eyes at once. He knows exactly where his friends are, even though he's not physically there. He senses the monsters closing in. And with these arm gestures that look exactly like what Vecna does when he kills people, Will snaps their limbs. Crack, crack, crack. The Demogorgons die instantly. Will lowers his arms, wipes the blood from his nose just like 11 always does, and stares into the distance. The game just changed. Why this makes him potentially more dangerous. Okay, so at first glance, 11 seems way more powerful, right? She can lift cars, throw people across rooms, enter mines, open gates, close gates. She's done all kinds of insane things. Will just killed 3 Demogorgons. That doesn't sound like much, but think about what actually happened. Will controlled 3 creatures at the same time in 3 different locations. He wasn't even near Mike, Lucas, or Robin. He couldn't see them with his own eyes. He saw them through the Demogorgon's eyes. He used the hive mind like a network to access multiple points across Hawkins at the exact same moment. That's not just telekinesis, that's being everywhere at once within the hive mind. 11 can only focus on one thing at a time. When she fights, she's locked into that specific battle. She can't be in multiple places. She can't see through multiple perspectives. Her power is huge, but it's singular. Will's power is distributed. He's plugged into an entire network of creatures and vines and particles that spans dimensions. His battlefield isn't just one location, it's everywhere the Upside Down touches. There are hundreds of Demogorgons in the Upside Down, thousands of Demobats, miles of vines covering entire towns. All of them connected to the hive mind. All of them could potentially be controlled by Will if he learns how. 11 would have to fight each creature one by one. Will could shut down all of them at once. And here's the really scary part. Will killed those Demogorgons using Vecna's signature move. He snapped their bones the exact same way Vecna does to humans, which means Will has access to Vecna's specific style of violence. If he can do that to Demogorgons, what's stopping him from doing it to people? What's stopping him from doing it to Vecna himself? The love versus anger thing. The Duffer Brothers said something really important about why Will was able to unlock his powers in that moment. It wasn't just about being close to the hive mind. It was about emotional growth. Ross Duffer said Will had to become a fully formed version of who he is. He had to truly accept himself. Once he did that, he could harness the powers. Will's been struggling with his identity throughout the entire series. People call him sensitive, different, weird. He's been bullied. He's dealt with feelings he couldn't express. He watched his friends grow up while he felt stuck. All that shame and fear kept him disconnected from himself. It kept him weak. But in Season 5, Will finally accepts himself. He stops hiding, stops being ashamed, embraces who he really is. And that self-acceptance unlocks his potential. The hive mind was always there waiting. He just had to be emotionally ready. This is completely opposite from how 11's powers work. 11 draws strength from anger and pain. When she wants to use her abilities, she thinks about her mother suffering, about Papa hurting her. She channels trauma into power. It works, but it drains her, it exhausts her, and it keeps her connected to her worst memories. Will draws strength from love and joy. He thinks about friendship, family, creativity, connection. He channels happiness into power. And that might make him fundamentally stronger because love doesn't drain you the way anger does. Will can keep fighting longer because his fuel source is positive. Vecna even confirms this when he's talking to Will. He calls children weak in body and mind. He thinks breaking people makes them easy to control, but he's wrong. Will proved that being broken doesn't mean being weak. Surviving trauma doesn't make you less than. It might actually make you stronger. How far can Will take this? We've only seen a tiny bit of what Will can do. In episode 4, he controlled 3 Demogorgons, but the Duffer Brothers said we'll see how far he can take it as the season continues. That means his powers are going to grow. What else is connected to the hive mind? Demobats, Demodogs, vines, mind flayer particles, the atmosphere of the Upside Down itself. Maybe even Vecna, since Vecna is technically part of the hive mind too. If Will learns to expand his reach, he could potentially take control of the entire dimension. He could turn Vecna's army against him, shut down gates, free the 12 kids trapped in Vecna's mindscape, do things that 11 can't do because 11 fights from the outside while Will fights from the inside. There's also this question about whether Will can affect things that aren't part of the hive mind. Right now, the Duffer said he can't open doors because doors aren't connected. But what if he learns to combine his hive mind abilities with regular telekinesis? What if being exposed to the Upside Down for so long gave him other psychic abilities he hasn't discovered yet? 11 started with basic powers and grew stronger over time. Maybe Will is on the same path. Maybe by the end of the season, he'll be able to do way more than just control monsters. Vecna's biggest mistake. Vecna really screwed up when he flayed Will back in 1983. He thought he was creating a spy, a weak vessel he could use to gather information and spread the Mind Flayer's influence. He picked Will because he seemed vulnerable. Just a scared 12-year-old kid riding his bike home alone. Easy target, someone who would break easily and stay broken. But Vecna completely misunderstood what makes someone strong. He thinks strength equals cruelty and power over others. He thinks victims are weak by definition. So when Will survived 7 days in the Upside Down and came back alive, Vecna saw it as proof that his experiment worked. He thought he'd successfully broken Will and turned him into a tool. He never considered that Will might turn the connection against him. Never imagined that the kid he traumatized might grow into someone brave enough to weaponize the very thing that hurt him. Vecna spent decades planning his invasion, building his army, preparing for every possible threat. But he didn't prepare for Will Byers accepting himself and taking control of the hive mind. That's Vecna's fatal flaw. He's arrogant. He underestimates people because he doesn't believe anyone can match his power. He definitely doesn't believe some kid from Hawkins could challenge him, but Will just proved him wrong. And in the final battle, that miscalculation might destroy Vecna. How Will changes the final battle. Think about how fights with Vecna usually go. In Season 4, 11 entered Max's mind to fight him psychically, while Nancy, Steve, and Robin attacked his physical body. 11 pushed him back, but couldn't finish him. They fought to a stalemate. Vecna escaped, and 11 exhausted herself. Now imagine the same fight, but with Will involved. 11 attacks Vecna directly with her powers, keeps him occupied, forces him to focus all his attention on defending himself. Meanwhile, Will taps into the hive mind and starts shutting down Vecna's backup. The Demogorgons that were supposed to protect Vecna, they turn around and attack him instead. The vines that were supposed to trap 11, they release her. The Demobats swarming everywhere, they drop dead. Vecna suddenly finds himself fighting on two fronts. 11 in front of him, Will behind him dismantling his entire operation from the inside. He can't defend against both at once. That's when 11 strikes. That's when she finally destroys him. Not because she's stronger, but because Will created the opening she needed. This is why Will might actually be more valuable than 11 in the final battle. 11 is the hammer. Raw power and overwhelming force, but raw power isn't always enough. Sometimes you need strategy. Someone who can turn the enemy's strength against them. That's what Will brings. He's the key that unlocks Vecna's weakness. Will understands Vecna in a way nobody else does. There's another reason Will might be more dangerous. He understands Vecna in a way that nobody else can. 11 knows Vecna was once Henry Creel. She knows he worked at Hawkins' lab. She knows he killed people and got sent to the Upside Down, but that's all intellectual knowledge. She doesn't know what it feels like to be connected to him. Will does. He's been linked to Vecna since 1983. He's felt the Mind Flayer's presence in his head. He's seen through Vecna's eyes. He's experienced the cold emptiness of the hive mind. He knows what it's like to have something evil living inside you, whispering terrible things, trying to break your spirit, and he survived it. He resisted. He held on to himself even when the darkness tried to consume him. That gives Will insight. 11 doesn't have. When Vecna attacks, Will knows how he thinks. He knows his patterns. He knows what Vecna fears because he's been inside the hive mind and felt those fears himself. Remember the cave? The memory Vecna won't go near? Will can use that knowledge. He can exploit Vecna's trauma the same way Vecna exploits his victims. 11 fights with power. Will fights with understanding. And understanding is often more dangerous than power because it lets you target weak spots that power alone can't reach. What about those 12 kids? Right now, 12 children are trapped in Vecna's mindscape, including Holly Wheeler. Vecna's using them as psychic batteries to amplify his power. He thinks they're helpless. He thinks he's broken them. But Max is teaching them how to resist. She's showing them that the beautiful world they're seeing is a lie. She's preparing them to fight back. If those kids learn to tap into the hive mind the way Will did, they become incredibly powerful allies. Imagine 12 children all waking up at once. Their eyes go white. They join hands. They take control of the hive mind together. Vecna would lose everything instantly. His power drains away. His army turns on him. He's defenseless. And who's the perfect person to teach them? Will. He's been where they are. He knows what it feels like to be connected to Vecna against your will. He knows how to take that connection and weaponize it. If Will can reach out to those kids through the hive mind and show them what he learned, they could all unlock their abilities at the same time, That would give them 14 psychics, 11 will, and 12 kids. 14 people all attacking Vecna from different angles. That's not a fight. That's an execution. Suddenly, Vecna isn't the unstoppable god. He's outnumbered 14-1. The possession risk is still real. Obviously, Will's powers come with massive risk. The hive mind connection works both ways. When Will taps into it, he opens a door in his mind. And Vecna can walk through that door just as easily. In Season 2, we saw how this plays out. The Mind Flayer possessed Will completely. Used him as a spy, nearly got everyone killed. So what's stopping Vecna from doing that again? What's preventing him from taking over Will's body while Will is using his powers? The answer is Will's emotional strength. In Season 2, Will was scared and confused. He didn't understand what was happening. He fought the possession but didn't know how to resist properly. Now Will is older, more confident, he's accepted himself, and most importantly, he knows what Vecna is trying to do. He's not going to let himself be used again. When he taps into the hive mind, he's doing it consciously and deliberately. He's in control. That doesn't mean he's completely safe, but he's prepared in a way he wasn't before. The group also has ways to protect him. 11 can monitor his mind while he's using his powers. If Vecna tries to take over, she can pull Will out. Kaylee can create illusions to distract Vecna. The military can hit Vecna with fire to weaken him. As long as Will isn't fighting alone, the risk is manageable. 11 plus will equals game over for Vecna. Here's the real thing though. It's not about whether Will is stronger than 11. It's about what happens when they work together. 11 has raw psychic power. She can throw objects, enter minds, close gates, fight monsters head-on. Will has hive mind control. He can see through multiple perspectives, command armies of creatures, attack from anywhere the Upside Down touches. Those abilities complement each other perfectly. 11 is the sword, Will is the shield. She attacks while he defends. She fights Vecna directly while he cuts off reinforcements. Together, they cover each other's weaknesses and amplify each other's strengths. And it's not just about power, it's about symbolism. 11 represents the lab kids, the children Brenner experimented on. Victims of human cruelty who gained powers through science. Will represents the Upside Down victims. The people Vecna targeted, survivors of supernatural trauma who gained powers through connection to another dimension. Together, they represent everyone Vecna has hurt throughout the series, and together, they're going to make him pay for it. The sacrifice question. There's one more thing we need to talk about. Will's powers might be stronger than 11's, but that doesn't mean he's going to survive using them. Throughout the series, Stranger Things has shown us that power comes with a cost. 11 lost her powers in Season 3. Had to go through brutal training to get them back. She's exhausted herself multiple times pushing too hard. Will's powers might have an even higher cost. He's not just using psychic energy, he's channeling the hive mind itself, connecting directly to the source of the Upside Down's evil. Every time he uses his abilities, he's exposing himself to that corruption. The more he uses them, the more he risks losing himself. Some fans think Will might sacrifice himself in the final battle, that he'll use all his power in one massive attack that destroys Vecna and the Upside Down, but kills Will in the process. It would be tragic but heroic. The boy who started as a victim would end it as the hero who saved everyone. I really hope that doesn't happen. Will deserves a happy ending. He suffered more than almost any other character. He deserves to survive, grow up, live a normal life without monsters. But Stranger Things has never been afraid of bittersweet endings. And if Will does die, at least it would be on his own terms, using his power to protect the people he loves. So, who's actually stronger? Is Will stronger than 11? It's complicated. In terms of raw psychic force, 11 wins. She can do things Will can't. She can lift heavier objects, close gates, travel to different dimensions through her mind. Her powers are more versatile and independent, but in terms of value against Vecna specifically, Will might be more important. He has access to the hive mind. He can control Vecna's army, attack from multiple directions simultaneously, exploit psychological weaknesses, teach other victims how to resist and fight back. Those abilities make him uniquely dangerous to Vecna in ways 11 isn't. The truth is they need each other. 11 can't defeat Vecna alone. Season 4 proved that. She's strong, but not strong enough by herself. She needs Will's help. His connection to the hive mind, his ability to fight from the inside while she fights from the outside, and Will needs her too. He needs her raw power to finish the job once he creates the opening. Together, they're unstoppable. 11 and Will working as a team, combining different types of strength, covering each other's weaknesses. That's what's going to defeat Vecna. Not because either one is stronger individually, but because together, they're something Vecna never prepared for. Two kids from Hawkins who refused to stay broken. Two survivors who turned their trauma into power. Two heroes who are going to save the world. What happens next? Volume 2 drops on Christmas Day. Based on what we've seen, the final battle is going to be absolutely insane. Vecna is stronger than ever. He has 12 kids powering him up, armies of monsters, the entire Upside Down at his command. The military is overwhelmed, gates are open, Hawkins is falling. But the heroes have something Vecna doesn't have. Love, friendship, people willing to sacrifice everything to protect each other. And now they have two psychics instead of one. 11 and Will, the lab kid and the Upside Down survivor. The hammer and the key, power and strategy. When those two finally team up for real, when they combine their abilities in a coordinated attack, Vecna is going to realize he made a terrible mistake. He thought breaking Will in 1983 would give him a spy. Instead, he created his own worst enemy. He thought flaying Will would make him weak. Instead, he gave him the power to destroy everything Vecna built. That's the beautiful irony. Vecna's greatest plan became his biggest failure. The first victim became the first weapon. When Will Byers channels the hive mind one more time, when he looks Vecna in the eye and takes control of everything the monster created, that's when Vecna will finally understand what it means to underestimate someone. Will Byers isn't just a victim who survived, he's a victim who thrived. He took the worst thing that ever happened to him and turned it into strength. He accepted himself, embraced his power, and became exactly who he was always meant to be. Not a broken boy, not Vecna's puppet, a hero. Maybe even the most important hero in the entire series. And yeah, his powers might actually be stronger than 11's, not because he can lift heavier things or fight harder, but because he fights smarter. Because he understands the enemy. Because he's willing to use the darkness against itself. That's a kind of strength raw power can't match. That's the kind of strength that wins wars.